work-life balance and what you can do to improve it so that you can stop falling victim to burnout. I want you to imagine that your best friend gives you a call and asks you for help for a favor. And he says, hey, look, I have a funeral that I'm going to tomorrow and I need you to show up there to support me. And you being the friend that you are, you say, sure, no problem, I'll be there. So the next day comes, you get dressed, you wear your best suit or your best dress, and you approach your door, you guys meet, you hug, and you walk in together. And as you guys walk in, you have a seat, and you look up and you notice something funny. You notice that there's all these pictures with your face on it. And you look down at the brochure and you notice that the brochure and from all the pictures that you've seen, that the funeral is actually for you. And then your friend says, hang on 1 second, I'll be right back. And you see him walk to the front, get on the stage, and then gives a eulogy about who you are and who you were. I want you to ask yourself, what would I want to hear my best friend say about me and the life that I live? This exercise is called the eulogy, and I love to give it when I want to help clients to figure out what matters to them in their life. And it puts everything into perspective, because what we're doing is we're literally beginning with the end in mind. Now, you could change this person that's up there giving the eulogy from your friend to, let's say, a coworker, clients you serve, your daughter, your son, even your wife, right? Everyone that you care about. And what this does is it helps us to realize, who do we want to be in these spaces? Now, why are we doing this? Well, I want you to understand what is truly important for you so that now you can start to prioritize your life. And that's what we have to do when it comes to work-life balance. When you think about it, if all you did was work and you didn't have any time for family, would that be fulfilling for you? If all you did was hang out with family and you didn't work, would that be fulfilling for you? Right? Maybe. But there's different facets of our life. And this is what I tell my clients when I'm working with them in therapy, is that there's these 4 domains of life that you need to spend time in. Now, the amount of time, it can vary because it all depends on what works for you. So with these 4 domains of life, I'm not expecting you to have 25% in each domain because that may not be realistic. But you have to figure out what works for you. So the first domain is career and education. So in that area of your life, what do you care about? So you can imagine, let's say, your boss, your clients, or someone getting on that stage and speaking about you. And then you have your relationships, right? So this is everyone that you love, that you speak to, that you care about. This can even be something as simple as your neighbors, your church members, anything like that. Next, you have your leisure time. So what do you do for fun? What do you do to get away from it all? And then last, you have your personal growth and personal health. How are you taking care of yourself mentally and physically? These 4 domains of life completes the entire person. It completes you. And you need to make sure that you're spending time in each domain, accomplishing goals, and moving closer to the things that you value. Because when you do this, you actually find the energy that you need to pour into your work and also in other areas of your life, like family and so on and so forth. This is very, very important, guys. There's also been a study that about 80% of all doctor's visits are stress related. Think about that. 80% of all doctor visits is stress related. So that should tell you that we need to address this, honestly, very seriously. And in this episode, I'm going to give you a few techniques. And there's so many techniques that I'm actually going to do a 2-part episode for this podcast, because I want to make sure that at the end of these 2 episodes, you have everything that you need to help give you that work-life balance so that you don't burn yourself out, have any more stress, and that you can actually give into your relationships and other assets of your life, other facets of your life, if you will. And the eulogy is a great one to start. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the first technique. So the first technique is all about setting boundaries. And we've heard this before, that, hey, you have to set boundaries. You have to know how to say no. You have to know when you need to say yes, right? These things are very important. And what I tell clients all the time is that when you say yes, you also have to ask yourself, what am I saying no to? And also when you say no, what are you saying yes to? Because when you say no to hanging out with friends on a Friday night and going out and partying or whatever it is that you do, when you say no to that, you're saying yes to self-care, right? If that's what you're going to do for that night. You're saying yes to hanging out with your family, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband. And those things may be truly important to you. So it's not all bad. And also, if you have the right people in your corner, they will respect your boundaries. But also, the boundaries are not for them to respect. It's for you to implement. And when I say implement, I also mean implement it within yourself. So know that when you say no, it means no for you. It's not about them, okay? Because we can't control people. And that's another thing that helps with stress. Being able to identify what you can control and let it go of everything else that we can't control. Things like the weather, things like other people's opinions, things such as what people say and do. Things like that we just cannot control. And we can give ourselves a lot of grace and take off a lot of pressure when we look at things from that perspective. So identify your no's. When it comes to work, identify what is a good stop time, what is a good start time. And during work, am I able to say no to my coworkers and to tasks that may be outside of my duties, so that way I can stay focused on the duties that gives me life, but also are obviously priorities for my job description. Because here's the thing, when you work in a system of people like I did when I worked at a high school, you may find yourself being asked to do several different things that may be outside of your scope. And if that's the case, the first thing I want you to do is to find it within yourself to tell that person, thanks for asking, but I can't do this, right? Tell them no. And then if you want to, right? So here's the thing. Let me actually finish this thought. So one, you can say no. And when you do it, say it sincerely. And once you say it sincerely, something that you can do is you can actually check up on them and see if they got that thing solved, as a way to show that you had no hard feelings to begin with, and you actually do care about them getting this problem solved. So again, say no, so be straightforward. Then you want to be sincere, and then you want to check back in on them. Be social with them, talk to them, let them know like, hey, how did that thing go? Were you able to connect with Susie or Beth or Anthony to help you with that project that you asked me about? These things help people to know that your no's are nothing personal. Now, if you have to say yes, there's 3 things that you can do, and it's one strategy, right? There's one strategy, but there's 3 things you can do under that strategy. So if you're forced to say yes, one thing you can do is you can renegotiate the terms. So that's going to be the overarching strategy. Now, under that strategy, the way you can do that is you can renegotiate the time that it's done. So someone may say, hey, by this week, can you complete this report? And with you having all the things that you need to do, you may tell them, yes, however, I'm going to have to get it to you in 2 weeks. Would that suffice? Right? That's a great way to change the dynamic, change the terms of what's being asked of you. The second thing that you can do is you can renegotiate the scope. So they may say, hey, can you do this report for me? And to do this report or this project, there may be 10 different things that you have to do. And if you can't do them all, again, you can say yes. And also, out of these 10 things, I can only do 7 of them. Can you get someone else to find the other 3 or to do the other 3? That would be very helpful for you and for them, because we're all accomplishing the goal, but it's not pulling on much of your, let's say, resources and time, if you will. And then the third thing that you can do is you can ask for more resources. So depending on where you work, you may have the ability to get outside resources, or maybe pull a secretary that's in a whole different department to help you out. These are things that can help take the pressure off you so that you can still have that balance to do your work and also do maybe some other work that you've been asked that may not be right up your alley, if you will. So setting these boundaries are great. And again, they are for you. We're going to ask people to respect them, but at the end of the day, it is for you and only you. So make sure that you're staying confident in that, and you're letting people know that, hey, I really do want to see you win, succeed. This isn't anything personal. And you can do that by simply being sincere and then checking back in on them. The second thing that you can do is that you can actually, the second group of techniques, it comes from time management. And this is the bulk of it, right? When you can manage your time, it actually gives you so much freedom to put time into other aspects of areas that can actually give you more time. And to speak to this, I want you to Google this, and then I want you to go to images and save it. So I want you to Google the Eisenhower matrix, okay? The Eisenhower matrix. So stop what you're doing. If you're driving, you need to make this mental note, because I don't want you to stop and try to do that, right? But if you're just walking, stop and do this. The Eisenhower matrix. It shows the things that are important versus the things that are urgent. If you have something that's urgent and important, what you need to do is put that in category 1. If you have something that is urgent, but it's not important, right? That'll go in category 3. And if you have something that's not urgent and not important, you put that in category 4. Now, if you have something that is important but it's not urgent, you're going to put that in category 2. And category 2 is where the successful, proactive people that are just beasts when it comes to time management, that's where they spend most of their time. Okay? Because let's think about things that are in category 2. Again, these are things that are important, but it's not necessarily urgent. And something like that, maybe going to the gym, maybe it's eating healthy, maybe it's going to your doctor's visit for that checkup. There's so many things that are important, yes, but it's not pressing on us, if you will. And if you can take care of those things, it actually gives you more time to invest into that actual same domain, if you will. Because if not, you'll find yourself in all the other areas, especially in quadrant 1, where things are important and urgent. And as a result, you're going to feel overwhelmed and stressed because something always feels like it's due. It feels like there's always something coming on your desk. You're always behind the 8 ball and you can never get ahead. To prevent that, you need to use the Eisenhower matrix and start writing out things that are in quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. And try to spend the bulk of your time in quadrant 2. Again, Google that. Once you find the images, save that image into your phone. All right. The next one that I absolutely love is time boxing. And I do this every single day. So time boxing is simple. What you do is you're going to write down all the things that you have to do for that day. So just write down all your goals or priorities and things like that. After you do that, I then want you to prioritize these goals. So for me, I had doing this podcast as number 1. I had doing my emails as number 2. And then I have a self-sabotage webinar that I need to put together. That's number 3. I prioritize those. And then once I have that, then I schedule them on my daily calendar. Okay, so it's a 3-step process that you're going to do. First, you're going to do a brain dump and write down everything that you need to do, everything that's on your mind on that page. Then you're going to prioritize what's important on that page. And then after that, you're then going to put them in certain time slots. Do that and follow that, and it ensures that your day is going to go exactly how you need it. All right. So start using a daily time box. And the previous technique, the Eisenhower matrix, will definitely help and almost like turbocharge your daily time boxing exercise. Now, number 3, this one is great, especially if you have ADHD. And it's called the Pomodoro effect. Okay, the Pomodoro effect. And if you want to, you can go to your app store. And if you just Google Pomodoro effect or the Pomodoro timer, you should have an app that comes up, and you can use that app to help you with this technique. So what this technique does is it tells you that for 25 minutes, you're going to set a timer and you're going to work during those 25 minutes. And I will even challenge you to put your phone in a totally different area so that way we know that you're going to stay focused. And what's going to happen is after 25 minutes, the timer's going to go off and you're going to take a break. During that 5-minute break, do what you want, right? Pull out your phone, take a step outside, which is something that I highly recommend. Get a drink of water, stretch, all those things. And then once the 5 minutes are up, you're going to go back to studying, back to working, back to doing whatever it is that you were doing for, again, another 25 minutes. And then after 5 minutes have gone up, after that 25 minutes are up, you're going to take another 5-minute break. And then you're going to come back, you're going to start working again. But the thing is, you're going to increase the time that you're working. So we went for 25 minutes. You may tell yourself this time, let's go for 30. Let's go for 40, right? You get the hint. You get the picture. And then you can also increase, if you need to, the amount of time that you're taking as a break. What we want to do is we want to get into the flow. Because here's the thing. Us as humans, we need to have our minds reset, take a break, so that when we come back to the exercises that we need to do, we have the most brain power. Because if not, you're going to go into that 5th hour, 6th hour of work, and you're going to have a dull edge. You're going to have a dull knife. And if you have that dull knife, you're going to be working even harder with less progress. There's a great book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And habit number 7, it talks about sharpening your saw. Because if you were cutting a tree for 6 hours and you didn't sharpen that saw is going to get pretty dull. And as a result, you're not going to make as much progress, even though you're working just as hard. So make sure you're using these 3 techniques. Again, you have the Pomodoro effect, where you work for 25 minutes and you take a 5-minute break. You have daily time boxing, where you just simply prioritize your day. And then you have the Eisenhower matrix, what helps you separate your day so that you know what is important, right? Whenever something comes across your desk, or let's say you're doing something in your leisure time, it will help you to know, okay, this activity is something that is important, but it's not urgent. Therefore, I probably should do it. Or you may come across something that is not important and it's also not urgent, meaning that it's a time waster and you probably shouldn't do it at all. All right. So those are 3 great techniques under the idea of time management. Last, mindfulness. This one is beautiful. All right. Now, I, as a therapist and as a coach, I can go 7 hours, right? And this is not 7 hours straight, and you'll see what I mean. But in a day, I can have 7 sessions. And when I have that first session, I'm fresh. And when I have my last session, that 7th session, believe it or not, I'm just as fresh. You may ask yourself, like, how can he do that, right? And here's the thing, guys. I'm an introvert. Like, I'm a big introvert, meaning I really don't like speaking too much, especially in large crowds. But I do it when I need to, and it's okay. But I prefer small crowds or just being by myself. So to speak to 7 people for an hour each, so that's 7 hours worth of speaking, you gotta ask yourself, how can someone like that maintain that level of energy? And it's through mindfulness. So after every session, what I do is I step outside and I go to the lake and I simply breathe, right? I breathe, I may listen to music, I may just simply gaze at the lake, something green like the trees or the grass. These things gives me the energy so that I can go back for that next hour like lock and loaded, like I'm at like level 10, if you will, while I'm doing that. And that really helps me. So what I want you guys to do is during the day, before you transition to the next exercise, the next project that you're working on, I would challenge you to take a moment and practice mindfulness. And I'm going to give you a technique. Even before your day starts, before you walk into the office, before you open your laptop, I want you to practice some type of mindfulness as a way to set your day up. You can do that not only in the beginning of your day, but also at the end when you're pulling into the house and you're in your car. Before you step out and go inside and you're Superman or Superwoman for your family, take 5 minutes to just simply be by yourself. And that's something that I do a lot to make sure that I'm the best version of myself when I'm walking into the door, because my wife and my son, they deserve that. And I think you would agree with that too. So the mindfulness technique that I love to do, it actually centers around music. And what I tell my clients to do, and what I would love for you to do, is to play a mindfulness song, or you play a jazz song. And as you're listening to the music, I'm going to tell you to focus on one instrument within that entire symphony. So if you listen to jazz, there's a lot of trumpets in there, or maybe it's a lot of pianos, depending on the music that you're listening to. I would tell you to focus on just the trombone, just the trumpet, and focus on that for 30 seconds. And once you do that, pull yourself back and focus on the entire song again. And then after 30 seconds of that, focus on a different instrument. And this may be the piano this time. And I would tell you to focus on that for 30 seconds and then come back and focus on the entire song. What we want to do is we want to build these muscles for you to be able to focus intently on something in the here and now. Because if not, your mind's going to latch onto one of those 80,000 thoughts that our mind can have in a day. And that thought may pull you into an abyss of sadness, overthinking, anxiety. It can be a lot of things. So to give your mind a break, put on some mindfulness music or put on some jazz music and focus on an instrument very, very intently. And let's see how you do with that. And what's that going to help you do is it's going to help you to be able to focus when you go to work or when you walk inside the house and focus on one thing. And that may be your family. That may be cooking. That may be whatever it is that you need to focus on at the time, rather than being hooked by these, again, terrible thoughts that we can have at times. So these are just 3 simple techniques. Again, I gave you a list of time management techniques, and under there, you have 3 techniques. As I just mentioned, you have the mindfulness technique, and then last, I gave you the setting boundaries techniques. So these 3 things you can use to help give you that mindfulness, that time management, and help you to set boundaries, as I mentioned earlier. So take care of these. You'll find yourself having more work-life balance, and that way it'll give you more energy to be the best version of yourself. And as I mentioned, this is just part 1 because there's so much more that I can give you guys. So take care, be safe. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that way you can get more information like this. And I'll see you guys later for part 2.